Hey, CityCast listeners, it's Megan. If you've been to the Strip, in the last 10 years, you know a lot has changed. And in a lot of ways, the anchor to all that is the Strip District Terminal. The historic 5-block building used to be the source for all the produce in Pittsburgh. And now it's an all-day destination for shopping, dining, working out, and more. There's the market on Saturdays, performances on Sundays, parking and retail discounts on Tuesdays. Check it all out for yourself in person and at stripdistrictterminal.com. Today on CityCast Pittsburgh, at long last, after a tense and frustrating wait, we finally know which city pools are opening this weekend. To celebrate the start of pool season, we're rounding up some of the best places to swim and giving you the latest on our city's lifeguard shortage. It's Tuesday, June 13th. I'm Megan Harris, and here's what Pittsburgh's talking about. I'm here with lead producer Mallory Falk. Good morning.
Good morning.
And a very special guest who's hit up almost every Pittsburgh pool and ranked them all, Jill Turner. Welcome to CityCast Pittsburgh.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So before we dive into your ranking system, Jill, Mallory, I know you've got the latest on which pools are actually opening this season.
Yeah, after a long wait, we finally know pools will officially open this Saturday, June 17th, and 15 of the city's 18 public pools will be opened. So that's more than last year when only 12 opened, but not all of them. Homewood, Sheridan, and the beloved Bloomfield Beach will not open this summer.
Hipsters will riot. Like people are not happy about that, myself included, because I do think last year Bloomfield Beach, my superlative award for it was the See and Be Seen pool. It's right by Liberty Avenue, so you can like go to the pool, run out, grab a drink, grab a burger, slice of pizza, everything afterwards. During Little Italy days, it was really nice. And the fact that it's closed, I don't know where everybody's going to go. Probably over to West Penn and Polish Hill.
Well, with Bloomfield, though, isn't it like renovation based? It's not because of like the lifeguard situation.
Yeah, it is. I mean, as a lot of people will comment on, they've had that long-standing non-functional mushroom there, which is really sad, as well as just the
really expensive umbrella now.
Yeah. And as well as just the outbuilding, that used to be probably a community center, or that still has the locker rooms in it, is just very decrepit. Like you can see it from the outside. It's just not doing well. So while it's good that it's getting renovated, I know people are going to be really upset that location is going to be closed.
Yeah, I saw the city also said that there's, I guess, like a tear in the pool's liner that has to get replaced. And I think we're still in like these pandemic supply chain hell where apparently it's like a 6-month wait to replace this liner.
Oh, wow.
And so that's part of the issue. All of these, they're saying, are closures not because of lifeguard shortages, but for construction reasons. So the city says Sheridan is closed for renovations, and then Homewood's closed because there's a big renovation project happening at Homewood Field Park. And so there's just going to be a lot of construction there.
Jill, your pool rankings last year, I got to say, were a work of art. They published in the Incline, but it was September, so we wanted to give your system a starring role for June. But last year, you had the same problem that I expect you're going to have this year. There were a few pools closed, and now there's a few more open, but also more closures. I don't know how anyone keeps up with this.
And, in addition to closures, just one other update about the pools this summer. So more are opening than last year, but some of them are going to have limited hours. So most city pools are open from noon to 7:45 on Monday through Friday, and then from noon to 5:45 on weekends and holidays. But McBride in the South Hills and Sioux Murray on the north side, they'll only be open from noon to 4:45 p.m. and only on weekdays, which seems like a huge bummer. And then Banksville,
you got to get out of the pool for dinner, I guess. That's
out of the pool for dinner, and you can't just spend like a long, luxurious Saturday lounging by the pool.
Yeah, if you work a 9 to 5, you're just SOL.
Yeah, exactly. And then Banksville in the South Hills and Riverview on the north side will only be open from noon to 4:45 on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday. And then they'll stay open until 5:45 on weekends and holidays.
I hate that so much.
Yeah.
Like a 4:45 closure is absurd.
It's really early. And like you said, if you are working a 9 to 5 and you want to go out to the pool like after work to get a dip and relax, like you can't, you know?
Or you got a 15-minute dip.
Yeah.
And then
Riverview was my local for years. And it like last year, I never once managed to get there on the right day for the right hours. Like even when I finally figured out the schedule, I still couldn't, like I still managed to get there on a day that they were like, sorry, we couldn't staff, we're closed. And I'm just like, are you serious?
I know.
I mean, so the city's saying that it kind of chose these hours based on attendance records. You know, they got more lifeguards this year than last year, but it's still not the full 155 they need. But to me, this kind of leads...
155 lifeguards?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's less than I would have expected somehow. I don't know why.
Yeah. I guess they need 155 to open all the pools, and this year they got 145. They haven't been able to open all 18 of their pools since 2019. So this has been an ongoing issue.
I wonder if that's because of the pandemic to some extent, not just like lifeguard shortages, but also like they didn't open at all in 2020.
Well, it's funny. I was actually reading this story because this isn't just a Pittsburgh issue. Like nationwide, there's this challenge of getting enough lifeguards, and there are cities all over the country that can't open all of their pools because of this. But I was reading this article on NPR about all of this, and they talked to this guy, Wyatt Wernerth, who's the spokesperson for the American Lifeguard Association, and he gave like a number of reasons he thinks that there is this lifeguard shortage. But one that I thought was kind of funny is he partly blamed it on the fact that the show Baywatch has gone off the air. He said that like...
You're kidding me.
Back in the day, it was really this like glamorous job for attractive people. And it seemed really heroic because you'd watch all these like sexy water rescues on Baywatch. And now it's lost that allure, and it's kind of just thought of as this crappy job for teens.
That's so funny. Because I remember as a kid, I thought the lifeguards were like the coolest people because they were all from the swim team in the high school. They were older, you know, as a kid going to the pool. Yeah, they were like kind of like glamorized in a way for me. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say Baywatch, but
I don't know. At my community pool now, like they're still pretty. They're still very pretty people, you know, like it's still like, and you can see the like little kids or like preteens staring at them with this look of awe. And it's just like, oh, wow, you're so cool. And they are, honestly. I've never seen anyone with better hair by a pool in my life.
So it's still got the cachet. I mean, I think, you know, another reason is probably the pay.
Is it good? I know it's past $15 an hour now, but I wasn't sure how good.
Yeah. So, I mean, Pittsburgh at least has been raising the pay to try to deal with this shortage. So this summer, the range is from $16.48 to $19.05 per hour, depending on your experience. But I think they've had to like boost it over the years because there are some better alternatives out there, or there were some better alternatives out there for folks.
I mean, and this makes me wonder, like, I don't know. I mean, isn't there like a residency requirement and stuff like that? Like, couldn't they just open it up and then they'll probably get more kids? I mean, you don't have to live here to be a police officer. Why should you have to live here to be a lifeguard?
Yeah, I mean, I know that's an argument a lot of people have been making, is that right now you have to be a City of Pittsburgh resident to qualify as a lifeguard. And we have so many surrounding municipalities, and there is this question of if we're in this shortage, if it's meaning that we can't open pools, or we can only open pools on these limited hours, not on the weekends, not after the workday, like why don't we just open this up to more people? But so far, that doesn't seem like something the city is interested in.
Well, and I don't know. I'm also frustrated, I think, by like this year seems on its face. But I mean, last year, for example, they kept Sue Murray closed for a while. And I remember talking to Councilman Bobby Wilson's office, and they were like, oh, yeah, it's community leaders. It's 100% the community leaders that like effectively lobbied the city to get this back open, because I guess the complaint initially was that there were behavioral issues around the pool, but they were like, oh, you want to talk behavioral issues? Try not giving children a place to be for 4 or 5 hours supervised. It will get worse.
In the heat, like when everyone's hot and cranky, and the thing that most solves that is having like
an outlet,
a nice refreshing pool to hang out in.
Yeah. So they got it back open with limited hours, like we said, but it's just, I don't know, it's kind of frustrating that like it's consistently like pools like that and spaces like that are the ones that are deprioritized sometimes.
Yeah. And that's kind of what got me going. You know, this sort of started out as like a fun little like side project for me last summer. But one that whole thing happened, it really got me thinking about how pools are not just a place for people to like go and relax and have fun. But when I would see people at some of the pools, like a lot of the children were on first name basis with the lifeguards. So they knew that that was an important part of their community, as you said, to like get out of the house for 4 and 5 hours, get out of their parents' hair, especially if there are communities that, you know, don't always have reliable access to cooling stations, central air conditioning, anything like that. It's a real public health thing too, just to have a place to cool down, especially with climate change making the weather so crazy.
Or get a snack or have like, you know, access to clean water. Like just it's nice to have all of those things in one place for all the resources that can be available.
And it does also make me wonder, you know, here in Pittsburgh, you have to pay for access. These are like city public pools, but you still have to pay to get admitted, which I know is not the case everywhere. When I lived in New Orleans, you could just stroll right into the pool. And it does make me wonder, like, shouldn't this city service be free? Because it is so important for everybody to be able to have access to these kind of spaces.
Yeah, for people that are able, I've always recommended a family pass because it's so much cheaper. If you're going to go, I think up to 3 times over the course of the summer, then it's worth the money because I think you can have 4 people for $60. So that'd be $15 a person. Or the better thing, I think, is to grab some neighbors or friends or whatever and go for 6 of you in for $80. So then it's a little bit less.
Yeah, because otherwise it's $30 for an adult, $20 for a senior. It is free for children 15 and younger who, again, are city residents. People are very firm about this city requirement. It's also free for disabled veterans, active duty military, and activated reservist guard members.
But if you're not any of that, I think it's $3 per kid per day.
Yeah.
And $5 per adult, which is like kind of expensive over time.
Yeah, exactly.
This episode is brought to you by La Quinta by Wyndham. Wherever your work takes you, you know it's going to be a good time because you're staying at La Quinta by Wyndham. They have free breakfast, fully equipped gyms, and free high-speed Wi-Fi to help you take care of any last-minute business or help keep you in the know on all things sports. Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you triumph. Book your stay today at lq.com.
So now that we know which pools are opening, how much they cost, and what our complaints are about that, we want to help people find the right pool for them. So, Jill, last summer, you visited almost every pool that was open. I know you missed Sue Murray, but you did this whole statistical analysis, ranking the pools, and then shared your results in the Incline and on Instagram. I know you're planning to do it again this summer with some new categories. So tell us about what got you started and the great rubric behind it.
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, it just sort of started off as like an idea of like, I want to visit every pool because all the pools had been closed in 2020. I hadn't really gone in 2021. And I just realized that there were so many that I hadn't been to, and they're all just like a little slice of community flavor that I thought it was just like would be really fun to see each one at least once. And then I came up with the idea of, I was talking about it with some friends and they were like, oh, you should rank them and compare them against one another. And then of course, you know, me being the researcher I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to put a rubric together.
The thing is, I have heard so many people make jokes about doing this. You're the first person I know who actually did it and like has documentation to prove it.
Oh yeah, it wound up being way more of kind of a hit than I had anticipated. People really reacted positively to it. And I would be at, you know, a party or something where like a friend of a friend or an acquaintance would reveal that they started following my Instagram account and ask like, are you going to do it again this year? And they were all really excited. Yeah. So I think it just speaks to the fact that people sort of love, you know, people love to categorize things and rank them, and seeing it, I think, in sort of a like funny way of just like me writing on pen and paper in my official Hello Kitty folder that I keep all my rankings in.
It's black and yellow too.
Yeah.
I love that.
So I think it was just kind of like wound up being kind of a charming thing.
Yeah. What in your mind makes for a very good pool?
Yeah. So last year I had 4 main categories. So cleanliness, size, amenities for everybody, and adult considerations. So of course you want to go to a clean pool where there's like not garbage floating in it. The locker room, of course, you want that to be clean. You don't want to feel like you're going to get, you know, like foot fungus from working in it.
Must have flip-flops to walk through the floor.
Yeah. Size, again, like that wound up becoming like a huge contributing factor in which pool actually won, but just the overall size of the pool, but also making sure that like there are ample places to sit as well as be in the pools.
This is one of my favorite sections, like shade to grass ratio, grass to pool ratio.
Because like the pool can be really big, but if there's no place to sit on the side, then it gets really crowded.
A friend of mine asked if you actually like use the like schematics, like if you looked up their actual like square footage, and I was like,
were you there with your measuring tape along the side?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this list is extra. I don't think she had that much time.
Yeah, just show up with one of those like little like tripod things and like measure everything. No, I didn't do that. Kind of eyeballed it, super scientific. Amenities for all, which is I had snacks and kiddie areas and stuff like that. And then adult considerations were if there was an adult swim, which actually wound up being an issue for some pools that didn't have it because they didn't have enough staff to do that or the space. But then absence of catcalling, I kind of tweaked that for this year to just say like inclusive environment. But like, making sure it was a positive environment because, people are walking around in their bathing suits. You don't want to feel like people are going to like whistle at you or anything.
Yeah,
and then proximity to restaurants and bars, which again, I thought some of the pools that were really going to pull ahead, were ones like Bloomfield or the Southside Pool or Ream up in Mount Washington, where, you could go to the pool and then head out and go like grab a beer and a burger somewhere, as opposed to some of the pools that really do feel like they're in the middle of nowhere, but those have their own charm as well.
Totally. And you said you're going to make some changes for this year too. What are the new categories?
Yeah. So I added, I think a big word that we've been talking about, especially since the Fern Hollow Bridge collapse and all that, was just infrastructure upkeep. So in addition to cleanliness, just seeing, you were talking about the tear in the pool's liner at Bloomfield, which they're on that waiting list to get fixed, but also just the locker room and adjacent outbuildings and perimeter structures. A lot of the pools are part of, a community complex. Like you'll see that there's a playground, there's a community center, but some of these community centers are still in use, like out at McGee Pool, that's still used. But some of them, like for Bloomfield, as I was saying earlier, you can tell those buildings are just really in a state of disrepair and probably pretty dangerous. So it kind of runs the gamut there. And then I added in accessibility, just because that was something I got a lot of feedback on last year of, you see a lot of most, if not all of the pools have the chairs that, if there's a person using a wheelchair, they can be lowered into the pool, like with that apparatus. But a lot of times I realized that, maybe the locker rooms or just even getting up to the pool itself might not have been that accessible. A lot of stairs in some of these locations.
So many stairs at some of these.
Yeah. So I added in that category as well.
So last year, once you hit up 11 of the 12 open pools, like what were your biggest takeaways from this project? My
biggest takeaway, I think, was that like size really does matter. Highland Park won, even though it had some serious setbacks. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. Spoiler alert. Highland Park won. But it had some pretty serious setbacks over the course of the season. There was that issue with the pumps that they closed the entire deep end of the pool and no one was allowed in, but there was still enough room like for people to go into the rest of the pool. There was a splash area with a functioning mushroom, looking at you, Bloomfield Pool, and a separate kiddie pool area. So even though a large swath of the pool was closed, it was still, had ample room for people to jump in. And then it also shut early because there was a mudslide. That's like the most Pittsburgh thing.
I forgot about that.
There was a mudslide that came down the hill and they just had to close it early because the water and, the areas just got too gross.
Yeah. Well, so, okay, you spoiled the first one, I guess, but let's go into your top 5 pick, which is not actually 5 because you had multiple ties. So in 5th place, you had a 3-way tie. Who were number 5?
Yeah. So number 5 was Bloomfield, Riverview, and Ammon Pool.
And why? Why did they make the top 5? What did you like about each of them?
So Bloomfield, it was really location. Like I said, being able to go there during Little Italy days was really fun. So you could like walk around. Riverview, I think just, again, the location, but for a completely different reason, because that is kind of isolated in the middle of Riverview
It's
Park.
delightfully serene over there.
It's very serene.
Not a lot of shade, though.
Not a lot of shade. However, the cool thing that I thought about it was very large. The locker rooms were pretty clean. You can actually see the observatory from it. So I thought that was really cool.
And it's excellent for adult lap swim. It's like just a good shape and size.
Yeah, it is. And then Ammon Pool. that was the one where I thought it was really cool that they hosted water polo there.
What?
So so there's actually a water polo league, and they practice and play there. So that was really cool because I had never been to that pool before. I didn't even know it existed, and to see that there was like this little cultural thing happening there was awesome. And they also had the cleanest bathrooms. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Okay, shout out Ammon. I like it.
Yeah.
So then, there was no fourth place because of all these ties. And then you had a two-way tie for third place, the coveted bronze medal. So tell us about those two winners.
Yeah, so those are Ream Pool and Ormsby Pool. So Ream is in Mount Washington area. That was also another location-driven one because you could, ostensibly walk up to Grandview, walk up to like Bigham Tavern and stuff from there. But it was also just a really cute location. It was one of the pools that they didn't have any grass. It was all just concrete, but they had these big umbrella-like structures. So it was pretty shady. And it was right next to a community garden that was really adorable. So that was kind of what set it apart. And then Ormsby Pool, that's the one in the south side. A lot of people will recognize that one. It's the one right by where you see it when you're getting onto Carson Street from the Birmingham Bridge. So,
I love that pool so much. It's also right by a library, so you can like get your books.
Yes.
You can go over to the pool. You can hit like a bar or a restaurant afterwards. It's the best.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Also, the sunset over there is gorgeous.
I'd wonder what percentage of books from that library are waterlogged compared to all the other branches.
Oh.
That library is also just excellent. They have very good recommendations. Okay, so that was third place. Who took silver?
Silver was McGee Pool, which is over in Greenfield, on Greenfield Avenue. That was the one that I was talking about a little bit earlier that has their outbuildings is still in use. I think it's like an active living center for seniors. It was definitely on the smaller side of the pools, like definitely not as big as Highland Park, but it had just the shape of it was really conducive to having different areas where you could either wade in or dive. And the area that it is just really adorable. I love the Greenfield neighborhood, and it's right by like a soccer field or baseball field where it says like a beautiful community. There's a mural there that's really cute. It just felt very charming.
Yeah, I played kickball over there for years. It's a really nice little spot.
Yeah. So I liked that one. There was a good vibe. A girl there chastised me for not wanting to dive into the pool, but when I did, she gave me a high five and said, "Good job."
I mean,
I thought
if they're advertising community and you're getting high fives from children, I think that's the win.
The most encouraging spot.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned Highland Park was your big winner. I know this is a hot take. I don't love the Highland Park pool. I don't. I think it's too big. And the only good spot to sit is under that big old tree.
Under the tree.
Yeah. So
Yep.
if you are not there at the right time to get a tree spot, you just have to sit in the sun. I'm too old. I can't do it. I can't sit in the sun like that.
I mean, I really do. Like I said, I was telling people this over the weekend, and I guess, not everybody's like into like football or will like get this reference, but I just really felt that it was like the Patrick Mahomes of pools, that it was like probably shouldn't have won, but just like by sheer force of its cachet and size, like
Mallory's completely lost, but
yeah. That's my hot take. But yeah, I think, and it also, one of the things that set it apart too, it is a very charming location. It's right by that pond where people can fish. But it was one of the ones that, haven't mentioned this yet, but most of the pools didn't have a functioning snack bar or concession area. One of the only ones that we went to that had the snack bar open was actually Westwood Pool, which came in 8th. And we think the only reason that was open, there was Little League games going on at the time. So they had that open for the Little League games. There was also a guy there selling snow cones and stuff like that. Highland Park has a vending machine, which not all pools have. And there are people that I know Highland Park, that was the lidocaine injection or whatever they did to Patrick Mahomes during the Super Bowl. That just like pushed them over the line.
I'm learning a lot about your personality right now.
Yeah. But there was also, sometimes people would set up like a little truck outside that sold, like packaged chips, like slushies and stuff like that. So just having that, even though it wasn't like officially sanctioned by the pool, but it was regularly there with these people selling these things, kind of helped with that too. Because if you're not in a location like Bloomfield or the South Side, where you can just, walk somewhere and grab snacks and, soda or whatever you want to bring with you. You kind of have to be mindful of bringing your own stuff because you don't know if you're going to be able to buy a snack or a drink at the pool.
Very cool. Well, I hope that we see you by the pool this summer. Thank you for being such an amazing pool enthusiast for us, and for sharing all that with CityCast and the Incline. It's the best.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Jill, when can we expect to see this year's rankings?
I am going to, as soon as the pool's open, I'm trying to get out there next weekend to get my family pass with some of my neighbors and get started. As you'll see at Jill Rates Pools on Instagram, I'll be posting whenever I go to the pool. So hopefully by the end of the summer, I'll do the final roundup.
I love that. We'll have links to last year's roundup, plus Jill's handles in our show notes. Here's what else Pittsburgh is talking about. Pittsburgh Public Schools is hiring, and there are a bunch of gaps to fill before the next school year starts. The district needs more than 30 teachers' aides, 30 custodians, and a handful of nurses and security officers. And WESA reports they're offering some sign-on bonuses and increased wages to get folks in the door. And Pirates outfielder Andrew McCutchen got his 2,000th hit. It was a single in the first inning off the Mets on Sunday, and the Buccos went on to win 2-1. The Athletic reports that Kutch is the 5th active MLB player to achieve the milestone, and it came 14 years and 8 days after his very first career hit, also against the Mets. Fun fact, when the Pirates get a home run, their preferred dugout celebration involves a full-length sword and is officially known as a swashbuckle. That's all for today here on CityCast Pittsburgh. If you're liking the show, please tell someone, rate the show, leave us a nice review, and subscribe to that Hey Pittsburgh newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Talk to y'all soon.
I can follow through context clues.